You've probably heard some expression along the lines of, her voice could make grown men weep. Among the mythos, there are many tales of beautiful singers, especially those surrounding the talented muses. However, there was one special singer whose voice sang out a tragedy that indeed did cause grown men to cry. Orpheus was the mortal son of one of the muses, Calliope, the muse of heroic poetry. Orpheus lived with his mother in Olympus for a while, but eventually he journeyed to the earth to visit his father and bring music to the people. In the kingdom of Thrace, where his father ruled, people were absolutely enthralled by the magic of Orpheus's voice. Everyone was quiet in the midst of his magical presence. Even the crickets stopped chirping just to hear his song. Why was Orpheus's music so enchanting, you may ask? He was in love. A kind, beautiful young maiden named Eurydice had stolen his heart, but she loved him just as fervently in return. They were quickly to be wed, their joy overflowing in their song and dance. However, their bright future was stained by the mark of a horrible fate. Bright-eyed Eurydice danced out her joy, but as she did so, she stepped on a poisonous snake and was instantly killed by its bite. The messenger god, Hermes, led the bride-to-be down to the underworld, not more than a wisp of what she used to be. Orpheus was broken. He refused to sing or dance or make any music. Without Eurydice, he had no hope. He had nothing. So Orpheus journeyed where no mortal man had gone before, down to the deepest depths of the underworld, venturing after his beloved. With his soul-winning voice, he hoped he could win the favor of Hades, Lord of the Dead. Maybe he would return Eurydice to him, full of the breath of life once more. There was something so utterly powerful about Orpheus's voice, something that could awaken even the dead. The whole of the underworld stopped just to listen to Orpheus's song. It was his song about Eurydice, about his love and his loss. The watchdog of the underworld, a great three-headed beast named Cerberus, was so moved that he instantly lay down at Orpheus's feet. The vengeful Furies were driven to tears at his song. All that was left was to convince Hades. And so he did. The cold, unshakable god of the dead and his seemingly icy queen, Persephone, cried until tears pooled around their golden thrones. Hades answered Orpheus's plea. He would allow Eurydice to return to the land of the living. There was a however included in this response. Orpheus could not turn back and look at Eurydice until they reached the mortal realm. If he did so, Eurydice would have to return to the darkness. To say the least, Orpheus was overjoyed. However, he was a bit nervous on the path back to the land of the living, so there was no singing. Orpheus was left with just his thoughts and his worries. What if Hades went back on his promise? He couldn't really hear Eurydice behind him. What if she wasn't here with him? What if it was all a trick? He didn't want to lose. He turned around. The one thing he could not do, he did. Orpheus blinked once, seeing the shadow of his familiar Eurydice. But Hermes was there instantly, turning her back around to lead her down to the dim depths. Farewell, beloved, Eurydice whispered, her last words like a wisp of smoke. Orpheus had broken his vow, and in doing so, had lost Eurydice forever. There was no joy left on earth. There was nothing for Orpheus without her by his side. Now, when he sang, it was at the deepest depths of sorrow. Even the wild beasts mourned with him, sobbing along with his song. As a man without purpose, a man who had lost his love twice over, with his voice empty and broken, he wandered aimlessly into the wilderness. One day, a group of wild, fun-loving nymphs found him in the forest, and tried to persuade him to join in on their merrymaking. However, he ignored them and continued with his morning song. The rowdy group of nymphs were enraged by his non-compliance, and immediately tore him into pieces, throwing his body into the river. Apparently they had no place in their lives for sad people. As soon as Orpheus was tossed into the river, the babbling brook stopped talking, just to listen to the ghostly song of Orpheus, still lingering on his lips as he floated out to sea. Finally, he joined his Eurydice in the underworld, their ghosts fluttering together in song and dance for all eternity.